Imagine a situation that seems completely ordinary on the surface, yet carries an unsettling undertone. One day, while you're talking to someone face to face, maybe a familiar coworker, a celebrity on a screen, or even a politician, you suddenly notice something strange in their eyes. For just a split second, so brief it's almost impossible to grasp, their pupils appear to contract and narrow like those of a reptile. You blink, look again, and everything seems normal. At that moment, you start to question what you saw. Was it just an illusion caused by lighting, angle, or your brain filling in gaps? Or, more unsettlingly, did you catch a glimpse of something not entirely human? Something that hints at a reality we don't fully understand? It's from moments like these, ambiguous, fleeting, and hard to explain, that entire theories begin to take shape. Some suggest that humanity may not actually sit at the top of the food chain as we've long believed. Instead, there could be another species, quieter, more intelligent, incredibly patient, living among us, observing, adapting, and perhaps influencing the world in ways most people never notice. This idea forms the foundation of the reptilian narrative, one of the most controversial conspiracy theories in modern history, not only because of its bizarre claims, but because it taps into some of our deepest fears about control, hidden forces, and the possibility that not everything is as it seems. Not every conspiracy theory is meaningless, and dismissing them too quickly can sometimes cause us to overlook important signals about how society actually functions. In many cases, theories about UFOs or hidden forces, despite their fantastical tone, originate from very real human needs. The need to explain the unknown, or the feeling of being controlled by forces beyond our perception. When a story is labeled crazy, it doesn't necessarily mean it is entirely false. Sometimes it is simply an exaggerated, symbolic, or distorted version of a genuine concern that exists within the collective subconscious. For that reason, the reptilian theory, while difficult to prove literally, still holds value if we interpret it as a metaphor. It reflects human anxiety toward complex power structures, where major decisions are made by individuals or organizations that the majority cannot access or control. In that context, the image of a hidden species manipulating from the shadows becomes a vivid way to express the feeling of being influenced and directed without awareness. On the surface, reptilians are often described as extraterrestrial beings, originating from distant worlds, genetically engineered for warfare, and organized into rigid, hierarchical empires. This portrayal makes the threat feel concrete, almost tangible. However, when viewed through the lens of psychology and sociology, a deeper meaning emerges. Reptilians can be seen as a symbol of cold, hyper-rational power, where goals outweigh ethics, and humans are reduced to tools. The idea of a group willing to sacrifice the many for long-term gain mirrors real concerns about modern systems of power, from politics to economics. When decisions affecting millions are made by a small elite, it creates a psychological distance that leads people to feel those in power are no longer like us. And from there, the notion of not fully human begins to take shape. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, the concept of the reptilian brain reinforces this interpretation. This is the oldest part of the brain, responsible for primal survival instincts such as fear, dominance, and territorial control. When human behavior is driven purely by these instincts, without the moderating influence of reason or ethics, it can appear calculating, cold, and manipulative. In that sense, reptilians may not exist as a separate species, but the traits attributed to them clearly exist within human behavior. This makes the story far more compelling. Instead of asking whether some external beings are disguising themselves as humans, we are led to ask a deeper question: whether within each of us lies a primitive instinct capable of control and domination. One of the most striking elements of the narrative is the idea that control does not come through direct confrontation, but through silent infiltration, gradually entering systems, occupying key positions, and reshaping structures from within. While this may sound fictional, history suggests otherwise. During the Cold War, for example, the United States and the Soviet Union rarely engaged in direct large-scale warfare. Instead, they relied on espionage, psychological operations, and information manipulation to weaken each other internally. These strategies produced no dramatic explosions, yet their long-term impact was profound. Similarly, in the modern economy, multinational corporations can influence markets, and even consumer behavior without overt force, using data, supply chains, media, and financial leverage to exercise a form of soft power that is both subtle and highly effective. To better understand how internal manipulation works, imagine a large corporation with thousands of employees and a complex management system. One day, they hire a new employee who appears completely ordinary. No outstanding achievements, no obvious leadership potential. He blends in, does his job, and attracts little attention. Yet over time, he begins to build connections, understand internal processes, and identify key decision points. Rather than competing openly, he positions himself in roles where information flows and decisions are shaped. Gradually, he becomes indispensable, someone who understands the system better than anyone else. After several years, an opportunity arises, and he steps into a leadership position. From there, subtle changes begin. Adjustments in evaluation criteria, shifts in budget allocation, strategic hires. Each change seems reasonable on its own, even beneficial in the short term. No one objects because nothing appears drastic. But eventually, the entire organization begins to shift in a direction that benefits a hidden group behind the scenes. By the time anyone notices, it is too late. The structure has already been reshaped. This illustrates the essence of internal control. Not dramatic takeovers, but gradual, almost invisible transformation. The idea of disguise in the reptilian narrative can also be interpreted psychologically. Humans engage in a form of social camouflage every day. In psychology, this is known as impression management, the process of controlling how we present ourselves to others. Employees may appear loyal while pursuing personal agendas. Politicians may say things they do not believe. Public figures often construct idealized personas that differ from their true selves. In the digital age, this phenomenon is amplified by platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where curated images and edited content blur the line between reality and performance. Unlike science fiction shape-shifting, this kind of disguise requires no advanced technology, only an understanding of perception and expectation. By influencing how others interpret reality, one can effectively reshape reality itself. The real danger, however, does not lie in whether reptilians exist, but in how conspiracy theories affect human thinking. When people believe in a theory without question, they risk falling into confirmation bias, seeking only information that supports their beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. Combined with cognitive dissonance, this can lead individuals to distort reality to protect their worldview. As a result, the ability to distinguish truth from falsehood weakens. In the digital environment, this effect is amplified by algorithms on platforms like YouTube and Facebook, which prioritize engaging and emotionally charged content. Over time, users become trapped in echo chambers, where repeated exposure to similar ideas reinforces belief and reduces critical thinking. This creates a dangerous cycle. Belief leads to selective evidence gathering, which reinforces belief further, ultimately diminishing independent reasoning. So, are we being controlled? The realistic answer is yes, but not by a hidden alien species. Instead, control comes from familiar systems: media, technology, algorithms, and economic power. These forces do not impose control directly. They shape perception, influence choices, and guide behavior in subtle ways. Media defines what we see and how we interpret it. Algorithms determine what information reaches us. Economic power influences the structure of opportunities and decisions. Together, they form a modern system of control that is not obvious, but deeply embedded in everyday life. From all of this, three key lessons emerge. First, do not believe blindly, but do not dismiss blindly either. Both extremes avoid critical analysis, and truth often lies somewhere in between. Second, the greatest danger is not hypothetical beings like reptilians, but the loss of independent thinking. A society that stops questioning becomes easy to manipulate. Third, reptilians may simply be a metaphor for cold, calculated power, primal dominance, and invisible manipulation. And in the end, once all the layers are stripped away, what remains is not a question about mysterious creatures, but a far more practical one. Maybe reptilians do not exist, but if one day you realize that those in power, whether in politics, economics, or technology, do not truly act in your interest, then the real question changes. It is no longer, do reptilians exist? Instead, it becomes, who is shaping the way you think? Who decides what you believe is true? And most importantly, who is actually controlling the game?